What on Middle Earth is Air New Zealand thinking? For a long time, Air New Zealand has been regarded as one of the world's, or at least the West's, premier airlines. From innovations like the Sky Couch in economy to a bunk bed section, along with pioneering an industry-leading premium economy class, Air New Zealand has long been admired. Business class, however, has sort of been an exception to that. Besides a few viral TikToks ridiculing the sardine can herringbone setup the airline has long had, Air New Zealand's business class has not been anything notable until now. After years of waiting and then more years of delays, Air New Zealand has finally started flying their brand new business class, but there is one major contention. In 2026, what do we all expect from a brand new business class seat resulting from billions of dollars of investment, privacy, direct aisle access, possibly a door, plenty of storage, high walls? Seemingly, Air New Zealand's new seat has none of those. How could such a respected airline make what seems like such a big mistake? What's behind this new seat, and is it as underwhelming as people fear? Today's journey starts in Auckland at Air New Zealand's so-called premium check-in. I'm concerned to see the big check-in has infiltrated here and replaced most humans with machines. How about we scratch that preemie and premium check-in? After completing Air New Zealand's check-in, we head up to fast track security, and then the biggest complaint in New Zealand, seemingly, Air New Zealand's lounges. Given that the airline is not only refurbishing its aircraft interiors but also its lounges, it's a bit unfair to critique this. In its current form though, Air New Zealand's core lounge also is not especially premium. Every Kiwi I've spoken to the past few years has voiced their frustrations with this lounge, and I get it. When it's difficult to find a spot to sit during non-peak hours, you know there's a problem. The main reason you'd come here is for a shower and a bite to eat, and luckily the food selection is the strongest aspect of this lounge in my opinion. There are a few hot dishes and a bao bun station. There's also a large spread of healthy salads and snacks. Further into the lounge, there's barista-made coffee, which for quote-unquote sustainability reasons cannot be taken to go. All in all, you are much better off just waiting for your flight in the terminal. This is a calm, quiet oasis with tons of seating. Kind of sounds like a lounge? Not only that, but Auckland Airport offers spectacular views outside, and although the All Blacks livery isn't here, it's still a feast for the eyes, like most of New Zealand, to be fair. All the way at the end of the terminal are Boeing 787 awaits for our flight to Bali, one of the few flights Air New Zealand operates in the 5 to 9 hour span, since most of their other routes either to the Pacific or Australia are shorter, whereas other Asian and North American flights are far longer. The reconfigured Air New Zealand 787, specifically the 787-9, comes in a 3-class layout. Economy class features the world-famous Sky Couch in certain rows, allowing 1 or 2 passengers to lay flat. I have got to try that soon. Premium economy has 33 seats with dedicated lavatories, and we'll get to a discussion on that cabin shortly. I think this cabin impacts their decisions for business class quite a lot. Finally, at the front, between doors 1 and 2, we have the 26-seat business class cabin. Unlike their old 787 herringbone business class, we now have a 1-2-1 configuration, which is how you can tell you're in the new cabin when you're selecting your seat. If it looks like it's 1-1-1, that's the old seat. In the first row, we've got the so-called Business Premier Lux seats, offering a business plus experience with twice the space of regular seats and a closing door for an additional fee of about $300 to $500 on long-haul flights. Is that worth it? Yes, if you can afford it, because this seat is actually impressive. The other 22 seats face the aisle herringbone style, so as you'll see, privacy is an issue, meaning you're best off in the last row to be slightly behind everyone else. The good news is that there are lots of lavatories, 4 shared between business and premium economy, or 2 only for business, resulting in a lavatory ratio of 1 toilet to 13 passengers, or 1 to 15 if you add premium. With that, let's hop on board. Now welcome to Air New Zealand's brand new business class, guys. It looks so modern thanks to the large entertainment screens, that's for sure. Let's state the obvious, what an upgrade from their old cabins. This is a huge step forward, relatively speaking. Visually, it's all gorgeous, but as I settle in, I realize that you feel like you're sitting in a shop window here. 5th Avenue ahead of Christmas vibes. There's a privacy screen that helps somewhat, but I can't think of another brand new business class seat with this little privacy. Changing the angle of the seat to face the window would eliminate the privacy problem entirely. How's the seat other than that? Storage-wise, this is night and day compared to the previous seat. We've got a closable compartment to our side with a headphone hook next to it and a small space underneath. Then we have a laptop-sized storage area below that, as well as our seat controls. There's a power port and both USB type ports, including 60-watt USB-C. To my left, there's another storage bin, so I imagine lack of storage was one of the biggest complaints previously, and they definitely remedied that. There's also this strangely high wireless phone charger which houses our tray table, and then an adjustable armrest behind that. This is certainly a unique seat, I'll give them that. It's a massive improvement, but to me this still ends up in the lower percentile of business class seats. Besides the hard product, the seat, the soft product is also important, and this is where Air New Zealand has previously tried to excel. Welcome on board Kia Ora, I guess. So let me reach here. I want to show you guys there was a choice between champagne, water, or orange juice for pre-departure beverage. And this orange juice, for once, looks pretty amazing. It's full of pulp, just how I like it. So cheers. Ooh, some of the best airplane orange juice I've ever had. Tastes like Tropicana with pulp. US Airlines could take a note out of this book. After that, we get scented hot towels and are addressed by name as we're welcomed by multiple crew members. Perhaps most impressive is that there are 2 huge plush pillows waiting at our seat in addition to our blanket. Stay tuned for the bedding later because that might be the single most impressive soft product element. We are not eating quite yet, obviously, but our menu, like most things on Air New Zealand, tries to highlight their culture. Something I normally love when airlines do. I can't say the cultural showcase here seems very committed with just one supposedly local dish, an appetizer. Before landing, there's another meal service, which is nice for an 8-hour flight, and then we've got our drink list. They have some cool sounding drinks, and it's interesting they don't list their wines, so overall, what do we think about the menu? Now, it's time to say a sad goodbye to New Zealand. Until next time. You might remember a few months ago that Oscar and I did DNA tests with today's video sponsor MyHeritage. Well, since then, MyHeritage has added a bunch of new features that have made learning about yourself and your ancestry even more easy and interesting than ever before. The actual DNA test is super simple. You just do a little swab of your cheek, then you let it rest in here for 2 minutes, and then you just ship it off in the included envelope and wait for your results. Now, the new features that make MyHeritage even cooler are, for one, ancient origins. A feature that lets you trace your DNA for up to 10,000 years. We're talking Vikings, Neolithic farmers, ancient Romans, not just broad regions. And let me tell you, it is pretty cool to find out you have a connection to a region you didn't expect to have. The second new feature is DNA traits that reports over 40 different features that should align with your DNA type. These include personality, sleep patterns, dietary preferences, fitness, cognition, and more. One thing to mention as well is that MyHeritage never licenses or sells your genetic data, so you can have peace of mind when it comes to that. And your wallet can also have peace of mind because MyHeritage is offering you a deal to get a DNA test for just $19. But not just that. You get the kit, you get access to ancient origins, you get a free trial and free shipping, all for the same price as the kit alone. And you can check that out at the QR code on screen right now, or by tapping that link at the top of the description and using code DAN19 to get it all for just $19. We just took off. Welcome on board. I have so many thoughts to share with you. I am so confused. When I initially saw this seat, I was skeptical. Upon boarding, I was skeptical. When I sat down for a minute there, I was slightly less skeptical, but now again, about 30 or 40 minutes on board, I am skeptical once again. The thing that comes to my mind when I think of herringbone seats is how space efficient they are. Since everyone faces the aisle, you can just exit where your feet are. You don't need any extra space, so it's a great way to cram a lot of seats into a small space, which I assumed was the reason that Air New Zealand decided to continue with the herringbone configuration for its density and its efficiency. But this is where things get really confusing. You saw on the seat map earlier that Air New Zealand fits 26 of these business class seats in this cabin. The first row is like a business class plus with extra space and doors and stuff, but 26 seats and 2 lavatories basically. So how does that compare to other airlines? Well, United with their Polaris product fits 32 seats in the same space. Qatar Airways with their 80 into Cent fits 30 seats in the same space. Shanghai Airlines, who have a staggered configuration with doors and a business class plus in the front row, fit 30 seats in that space. And even, in my opinion, the best business class seat you'll find on a 787, the Apex Suite, which you'll find on Korean Air, certain aircraft, and Oman Air, those airlines put 24 of those seats. So there's only 2 more than the world's best 787 business class seat on this aircraft. How does that make sense? If they didn't install this inferior seat for space-saving purposes, then why did they? In the 2020s, there are really only 2 major airlines offering herringbone seats on their wide-body aircraft still. That is Virgin Atlantic and that is Air New Zealand. And unlike Virgin Atlantic, which for a long time has been taking delivery of aircraft with a different type of way superior seat, actually 2 different types, both the reverse herringbone and a staggered configuration, Air New Zealand kept taking delivery of 787s with old seats. And everyone knew, including senior people at the airline, that very soon this seat is gonna need to be replaced. And keep in mind, Air New Zealand is still 51% government owned and losing money, unlike Qantas, for example, and most other airlines in the world right now. What are they thinking when they go, well, this is a good way for us to compete? I have a few theories. Air New Zealand ordered their original herringbone seat from the same company that Virgin Atlantic ordered it from, Safran. They started flying it back in 2005, so over 20 years ago at this point. In 2019, when they had decided, we need a new seat, they approached Safran again as existing partners. What is your latest and greatest offering? And that is when Safran presented this seat, the so-called Visa seat. So going to your existing manufacturer makes sense. And for an airline like Air New Zealand, who already had herringbone seats, especially at the time pre-COVID, I imagine that this seat seemed pretty good. So a seat from 2019 might not sound that bad, right? I mean, that's only a few years, but in the airline industry, 7 years is an eternity. Just as a point of comparison, it was basically half that time or less between when Lufthansa introduced this business class as their new and improved business class and when Qatar Airways introduced Q Suite, which changed the whole industry. So in a matter of years, things can change so drastically. Safran's arguably best and signature seat came out in 2022, so that's already 4 years old. That is the Safran Unity, which is available on the A350 and soon on the 787 with airlines like Riyadh Air operating that seat type. So when I first read that Air New Zealand seat came from Safran, I was like, why didn't they just get the Unity seat? But it makes sense when you know that 3 years earlier in 2019, that seat did not exist yet. Long story short, this seat is a result of bad luck and bad planning and possibly bad choices. Bad luck in terms of delay upon delay. Bad choices because there were already seats that were superior to this back in 2019. But ultimately at the time, I don't think Air New Zealand truly realized how much the pendulum was swinging away from herringbone seats like this. So in the end, they have ended up with an undoubtedly inferior product to most other airlines when it doesn't even take up less space and save them weight or allow them to extract more revenue than any other airlines can either. There are so many more layers to this that I wish I had time to discuss, but then you guys will stop watching, including that Air New Zealand has always really gone all in on premium economy, their middle cabin. That has been where they have invested a lot and where a lot of airlines, including Air New Zealand, make the most money in terms of space. Business class, as you've seen so far with the ground experience especially, is not something very premium. The question is if the rest of the soft product on this flight, the meal, the bed, all of that, can make up for a relatively uncompetitive seat. And before you comment that Air New Zealand operates in sort of a vacuum and doesn't have to worry about competition given where they're based, that simply is not true. Travelers have a choice of a competing airline on almost every single route that Air New Zealand serves to or from Auckland. So yes, that is my interpretation of why we ended up here. Again, this is quite a nice seat, but it's just such a disappointment compared to what they could have. Will the in-flight service make up for it though? Before we get to the menu, how about we unbox the Amenity kit, which hasn't changed since I flew Air New Zealand last 3 years ago. It's basically a paper pouch. Not the most premium thing I've ever seen, but this airline really seems to be all about sustainability. At least that's what they say. Like everything else so far, this is fine. I always look for interesting drinks on board. One of the things that stuck out to me here on Air New Zealand is this Alba coconut non-alcoholic beverage with authentic Mexican agave. Nice, it's like a sparkling, sweetened coconut water. Soon enough, the cart rolls by with our appetizers, which are served restaurant style on white linen without a tray. Now, if they did that without the cart, we would be in true premium territory. My vegan meal starter is a random take on meze or something. We've also got a side salad, which looks astronomically better than a US airline salad, but not much more exciting than that, and a piece of cake, which is meant to be with our dessert, but apparently they give it at the start of the meal with special meals. I'm gonna watch Lord of the Rings. I'm so excited. Of course, when you're going to or from New Zealand, this is extra fun because you get to see all the places where the movie was shot when you just went to some of those places. The best part of this is the seeded bread. As I enjoy that bread, I discover something nice about this seat, that the tray table is adjustable to allow you to easily access the aisle even when the table is in use. Main course time, my god, this movie is so good. This, on the other hand, doesn't look especially exciting. I've had some peeks at other people's food and the portions look really tiny. I don't know, it just doesn't look very premium, unfortunately, but ultimately it's the flavor that counts, so actually it tastes better than it looks. Almost tastes a bit Mexican. And on the bright side, super healthy. We've got some protein from the lentils. The food gets marginally better the more I eat, but the best parts are still the bread and this dessert, which tastes awesome. I also get some fruit, which again is fine, I guess. After the meal, I go to the galley for a lavatory visit and catch a glimpse of the naked cheesecake. There's also a snack basket here with some chips, biscuits, and chocolate. The lavatories themselves are, say it with me, fine. I really like the soap, but there are no other amenities, which is very rare for business class actually. As nap time approaches, it gets me thinking, could it be that New Zealand, being one of the most remote countries on Earth, has something to do with the seat choice? Is this entire seat centered around the key selling point of business class on a 12 to 17 hour flight to New Zealand, namely having a comfortable bed? Well, okay, this is really the moment of truth because this will make or break this seat. If the bed is good, that can change a lot. But I should also mention one thing. Air New Zealand, impressively, not only has Turndown service. The flight attendant offered to make my bed. I just ended up asking her to do the mattress and I did the rest, but that was very nice. On their long haul flights, they also have like a nighttime routine where they give you tea and like a night balm and all this nice stuff, which is a really nice and premium touch. But I have to say, this is by far the best business class mattress in the world, better than some first class mattresses. So the elements they put on top of the seat are great. Now, if I close my privacy shield and I settle in, how does it feel? Without a doubt, Air New Zealand invests in sleep. As I suspected, sleep seems to be the #1 emphasis, and the benefit of sleeping in a herringbone seat like this is that your head is removed from the aisle, your feet are closer to it so you don't feel like you're right in the aisle, but I do think a bit more privacy would really help you relax. Even though you're far from the aisle, you feel pretty exposed, which to me is key in making me not sleep as well as I could. The mattress really does help. I've tried different positions on my back. Weirdly, my feet end up touching the seat in front of me, so I'm actually too tall at 6'2", 187 centimeters to sleep on my back in this seat. It's also a bit uncomfortable to sleep on my left side because my knees hit the side of the seat, so at the end, I really only have my right side, but I will say, when laying on my right side, it is very comfortable thanks to the bedding. Now, there are no individual air vents, but luckily a warm cabin is the furthest thing from our problems because it's practically freezing. Great for sleep though. As I lay in bed finishing Lord of the Rings, I come to appreciate the mattress pad so much. I think Air New Zealand should do an Emirates and put the mattress pads on everyone's seats immediately after takeoff though. It goes such a long way for improving comfort and seems like an easy enough thing to implement. As I lay there, I discover another problem with this seat, one that should have been so easy to avoid. Even with my windows fully closed, the screen is so reflective that I can basically see myself as well as I can see the movie on the screen. Anti-reflective coating on in-flight entertainment screens is a must, and it's so easy to install. That's especially unfortunate since Air New Zealand invests in their entertainment selection and has a great UI, so you won't be bored. Being a new system, you've also got Bluetooth connectivity for wireless headphones. We're an hour and a half out of Bali, and it is pre-landing meal time starting again, very similar to the last one. So we're getting 2 full meals. The salad, the dessert immediately, some more of this delicious seeded bread, and a pretty tasty and healthy looking black rice, mushroom, and edamame mix. I didn't mention this earlier, but clearly the main courses are crew plated, which is quite a bit of effort. I imagine that's why it's taking a bit of time between courses. So it's funny how in some ways Air New Zealand really tries to push the crew to go the extra mile and do the extra step, like offering Turndown service, like crew plating meals, like serving them on the table instead of on a tray. So I just want to acknowledge that and make sure it's not going unnoticed. These little premium touches do make a difference. After what feels like a very long flight, we start our approach into Bali. From Bali Airport, we are fresh and transited, ready for our next flight.
Yes, we have recovered from the horror of Air New Zealand. I'm kidding. I thought the flight was good. I thought it was like nothing maybe to write home about, but also not bad.
I think that's the point. I went into this with pretty high expectations because Air New Zealand is so highly regarded among frequent flyers,
Really?
And it's viewed as one of the best Western airlines. So for us to say the flight is fine, I don't feel quite lives up to what I would hope Air New Zealand would live up to, especially with this seat. It is so unfortunate that they have ended up in a situation where this is their new flagship seat because some parts of the soft product are great, but some other parts don't really make up for that shortfall, which leaves me feeling that Air New Zealand ends up sort of middle of the pack on a global scale. But compared to most airlines in Europe and the US, it's still solid.
I guess the one thing that felt a bit off for me was that I just felt like the brand that I sort of expected Air New Zealand to have, based on like the livery and everything you see about it and the country itself, wasn't necessarily reflected in the onboard experience. I like what they do with their purple lighting everywhere and stuff like that. Like I really like that, but like everything from the safety video to like how they do the service, the food, like everything it just didn't give the Air New Zealand that I thought it was going to give. It's just always so clear when a brand or like an airline really knows what they are and like what they stand for. And here it just feels like they're a bit more confused, if that makes sense.
Okay, bye, Oscar. I always say that airlines should choose whether they're going to go for luxury or fun, and that often includes incorporating your culture. And Air New Zealand definitely tries to incorporate their culture, but they do not go all the way. And I guess they also try to be luxury in some ways. And although New Zealand is a very expensive country to travel to, the country isn't necessarily one full of luxury, which is why it makes sense for Air New Zealand to kind of forget that and go all for the fun, incorporate their culture even more and make it feel even more exciting and interesting, like you're going somewhere really exotic, more in line with what Fiji Airways does almost. Quick reminder that you can get your MyHeritage DNA kit, Ancient Origins, a 30-day free trial and free shipping for just $19. Check them out by scanning the QR code or going to the link at the top of the description and use code DAN19 to get those savings. So with that, hit that subscribe button below for more videos like this. It's free, it just takes a second, and until we see you in the next video, as always, fly safe.